Thank you for coming back for a part 2 reaction for my review on the Nicolas Cage film, Longlegs. And here with me, I have my friend and upcoming future streamer, LostSamantha.
Hello.
So about a week and a half ago or so, I went to the theaters to see Longlegs on its premiere weekend. I saw it with a group of people, my roommate and LostSamantha here. And this was her first film, honestly, if I'm not mistaken, watching a horror film in the theaters. Is that correct?
Oh, that is definitely correct. That was the first ever horror movie in theaters, and can I say it was amazing?
That is amazing. Indeed, indeed. And so I just want to because you are, of course, my first person on this YouTube channel, I'm going to be essentially asking a bit for more of in-depth questions and just her thoughts, and if she has any questions for me and about the movie. We'll be talking about, in this part of the video, the movie Longlegs, and the second part that featured Nicolas Cage within it. So in my last video and review for Longlegs, I talked about mostly just the part 1 section of the film, as Longlegs is structured in a 3-part formatting. And I talked specifically about the investigation and how I feel about the investigation section of the film. So this part of the film, part 2, we are going to be talking about Longlegs and Nicolas Cage, and how we feel about Nicolas Cage, and just in general, just a talk about Nicolas Cage. So what were your thoughts, Sam, on the movie Longlegs? Just in general, what were your thoughts about this film?
So, in general speaking, it was a crazy film. It was like, I don't even know how to explain it. It was like insane. Like the amount of plot twists they have in it, and the amount of crazy scenarios you wouldn't think what would happen, they end up happening. It was like, it's not, in my opinion, it's not a scary film, but it's more based off of it feels cultish to a point, and it's
Yes.
It's all in all, I'd say 10 out of 10, the best horror movie in my opinion.
As a film within the recent decade or of recent times, what do you think of this film fitting into more modern horror, as especially with it being a horror type of a thriller horror, not full on going into the supernatural or full horror, it being an investigation style horror? What did you feel about that?
I felt like it could be part of our times, with how much, what parts about it, not going into specific details, but it's it could fit into our generation of how things are, basically, and, what type of things are in our part, how do I put it, it's just crazy, how
I get that, yes.
Yeah, it's, insane, I recommend if anybody wanted to watch it, they watch it. It's so good. That's how good it is.
I like that. So part 2 of Longlegs very much well went into just the character of Nicolas Cage's Longlegs. Part 1 and part 3 were pretty much all Micah Monroe's character, the main actress of the film. But part 2 went full on deep into who Longlegs is, what his character's about, and just his weirdness of the character. And just, of course, just him himself as a more centered, instead of Micah Monroe's detective agency character. What did you think of this part 2 section of Longlegs that dealt with Nicolas Cage?
So I think Nicolas Cage had his every movie he's been in has amazing performances, and I think this is top tier because it brings out the psychological part of him that you would never expect from him, and it is perfect. He shows you how insane, not even himself, but how insane people can be in general, and it goes it goes hand in hand, and if you know what I mean, I guess.
I feel that I definitely felt Longlegs, even Nicolas Cage himself, he was bringing something else he hasn't really brought from other horror films to even just a thriller. He's been in his comedies, he's been in his horror films, and his horror films, unfortunately, haven't been always the best unless they've been coming from the streaming service Shudder, with examples as the psychological film Mandy and his sci-fi film Color Out of Space, and just a few other things he's done for Neon. He's also his first Neon film that I know of that Longlegs is produced by. He also did a film called Pig, where he was just a man who had a truffle pig and wanted to go on revenge on a whole group of people for stealing his pig. And this being his second Neon film, and of course such a ghoulish character, honestly. That's like the best way I could feel like. It's like so ghoulish, but weird also as a character. That he brought out something else that he wasn't able to bring out in his other films. That an indie film studio like Neon, I think, was able to allow him to bring out this crazy character. What are your thoughts?
I think Nicolas Cage, just all in all, his performances are always great. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
there's this movie, I don't remember the name of it, but he doesn't talk in it. Yet, even though he doesn't talk in it, it is crazy.
I think I know what you're talking about. Willy's Wonder. It's like a Five Nights at Freddy's of sorts.
It's crazy because he doesn't talk in it, but his performance in it yet amazes me.
I still have yet to see that one.
I recommend it. So.
Okay, yeah. So this second part, it full on dove into his character's Longlegs, but not enough to, I guess, where we know like who Longlegs is. We get honestly, it's another one-liner like we got from the first part where Micah Monroe, we get told like Micah Monroe's character is a psychic of sorts, but how that really doesn't lead too far into the film with her investigation. But within this part of the film, we get told that Nicolas Cage's Longlegs is magic. And as we go deeper into the film and why they kind of consider him magic, we kind of, in a way that I will go deeper into the third part of the film, but it's more like he is a witchcraft user, as they tell us how he's some sort of Satanist, but the way he acts isn't full on like Satanist like actions, I would guess, honestly, but more of a voodoo like witchcraft maker.
Yeah, he gives off some like crazy vibes in the movie. It's like you don't know what to expect from him, but it's kind of like nerve-wracking too, because you try to find out what he is and like what he does, and then it's like when you find out, you're just like, what? That's crazy.
Exactly. I wouldn't say they also honestly confirm anything either, honestly, about his character, truly, because of how his character really isn't a part of the murders. It's always something else and other people causing the murders, the families. What do you think on that part? Do you think there is a voodoo aspect of this film?
I feel like in a sense, yeah, there is a voodoo, but I feel like because you say, you know, he's a Satanist and all, that has some part in the aspect of it. It's like parts of the movie is just kind of like you see things that you don't expect to see. You see things that give it away, but they're also, you're confused too because of like you don't exactly know what's going on yet.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one. So honestly, this film doesn't really go too much into what Nicolas Cage's character as Longlegs is, but that honestly doesn't mean like his performance was terrible or there was something to his character. Like there was definitely something up with him as Longlegs and a serial killer and everything. But right here, I thought we would, in a way, kind of react to the original trailer for Longlegs and see if we kind of pick up on anything we may have not before from the film, just a little something, and kind of just see just what was the trailer given that we possibly thought is like missing in a way, kind of. So here we have the Longlegs trailer. We're going to be just reacting to it. You guys are going to be hearing the audio from the viewer side on YouTube, but you will hear the Longlegs trailer, and just what our kind of commentary on it real quick and everything like Nicolas Cage. So here we go. What do you think of this scene right here? When we like, this is the second time we would see Longlegs in the movie, pretty much.
I thought it was kind of dumb for it to just walk out, kind of in a way.
How he doesn't, like, re-show up again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it scary being a lady FBI?
Oh, and the way, like, how the film... So the film goes into a whole thing about birthday plots and Longlegs being, like, a killer who's focused on these birthday plots. What do you think of those? Like, the birthday... Right. I'll about ask you also, in my first part of this video, the series, I was talking about her investigation and how she was solving different things, like how they're showing right now in the trailer. Even like this little thing, deciphering the Satanist little triangle thing right there, like, they didn't really explain too much in the investigation of how she was able to decipher Longlegs' messages and everything. What do you think of that? How we kind of were just... Everything just happened.
I was confused. I was like, how did she figure it all out? But I was confused on why he does it the way he does it. But I think it explains it in the series. Maybe. I don't exactly recall that, but I think it's like, it's awesome in a way that she deciphers it.
Okay. Do you think it has to do anything with the one-liner of her being, like, quote-unquote, a psychic?
I think it has to do with some part of it, in a way. I think there's, like, more to it than like, we know for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that's one part of it. The psychic part of it.
And what do you think of this film also showcasing, at least the more... Like, they do, of course, go more into the investigation as we go into the second part of this film here. The way they go into the film and, like, the parts and everything is more like... It's so cryptic how they're trying to tell the story, honestly. And the way the notes are given to us as a viewer versus the actress playing, or the detective, and solving it, we're kind of watching her being, like... She's such a character who is more self-reserved and everything. And as we figure out within the film, she has a connection to Longlegs from when she was a child and everything. How do you think that all plays in?
I think it's like one of those moments where, how do I put it? Because she has something to do with Longlegs, she knows about Longlegs in a way where she doesn't even know she knows, yet she knows. It's kind of trippy to think about it like that, but it's pretty cool to think about, and nonetheless, you know, like, she understands somewhat of how his mind works without knowing how his mind works.
I can see that. But do you think that somehow hinders the story at all? Like, somehow, like, as a viewer, like, we're not really being able to figure it out along with her, you know? Or even with Nicolas Cage's side, we aren't really figuring out why he's doing what he's doing, this voodoo-ish, like, puppetry.
I think... I don't know how to explain it exactly, but I think that she, like, the way she does it is just... It's kind of hard question to ask. I don't know how to answer that question exactly, but I think that in a way, like I said before, they play hand in hand together. Therefore, they know each other, yet one of them knows the other one way more because of the experience.
It's honestly kind of, I feel like with that, it kind of goes into how, like, Longlegs is kind of taunting her throughout the film also a bit. Like, she doesn't know what's going on, but, like, we clearly know, like, Longlegs knows this detective and everything. And I guess that would kind of, like, connect into that little thing right there.
Yeah, because, like, since he knows her, but she doesn't know him, he could make fun of every aspect and, like, every point, because technically, in a way, she's kind of one step behind him, but also one step ahead of him because of it. But she doesn't realize she's one step ahead of him. It's
kind of weird cycle.
Yeah,
in a way.
basically, yeah.
But yeah, it's such a weird thing because like, what do you think of Nicolas Cage's singing, real quick? Actually,
I thought it was creepy, but it was kind of creepy in a cool way. Like, you don't ever hear him like say something like that, but the way he's like the creepy aspect of it is how he sings it.
yeah, I would say the first song I remember, honestly, like I think it's the only song I actually remember. I don't remember the second song too well. But it's like he's in his car. It's kind of like that transition between like how she's in her car. I think it's honestly later in the film, but it's kind of like a parallel, like her screaming in the car from her frustration to him just singing like a rock song, just yelling out a song while he's driving. I think it's after that like hardware store he's in.
Oh yeah, because he goes to get like, I think he goes to get pills, doesn't he not?
Something he gets from there.
Yeah, and then like the girl was like,
Yeah,
that's
that.
creepy.
What do you think of Nicolas Cage's performance, especially because like just a little spoiler, like he's not in the last part of the film.
Yeah.
What do you think of like him being like it's promoted with him being a main character, but what do you think of him being pretty much reduced just to this second part of the film mainly?
Kind of like, I'm kind of annoyed with it because I thought it would be cool to have him in the last part too, because like he could have brought up some more like craziness. He could have made it like
An intense third act, I bet.
yeah, it would have been so insane. They probably would have been like psychological, like towards the main character.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think of the supernatural side of his character, if there is any?
Well, being that I love like any supernatural aspect, I think that the supernatural part of his character, even like, I don't know how much it shows, but like I think it is so cool on how they put it, like how they made his character based off of like a supernatural kind of like role to it all. I think that aspect kind of made more sense even in the complicated, like, I don't know what's going on type of situation.
I get that. And like, well, honestly, like, what I thought, like, his supernatural side, I don't know if it was supposed to be just meant to look like it's a psychological, like, difference between him and Micah Monroe's detective character, but we also get the little bits of him if he is magic, like they say that he's a magic man. And then as we go through the film, we are seeing him making these voodoo dolls. But that's not even the end of it. Like, his Satanist role. If he is a Satanist, we see a goat head in the back shots of many scenes, a goat body. But we also seeing, like, these dolls are getting possessed.
I think that aspect is, like, dope. Like, the word I can put for it is dope. Because, like, imagine, having a character based off of satanic role who can make that kind of stuff exist and then make characters kind of like go insane because they don't know what's going on.
I'll say, yeah, going to like that part, like after he made these certain type of dolls, if they are voodoo dolls, they would affect families. But these for part of the investigations, Longlegs himself was never seemed to be a part of them. Like there was always the cryptic messages, but the parts that always led to like the fathers or the men leading these like murders.
It makes you question everything because you don't know exactly. In the beginning, you don't know exactly what's going on. You have to figure out yourself as a viewer, because if you knew exactly what was going on in the beginning, you'd be like, "Oh, this is kind of boring."
Yep.
But now, like, when you watch towards to part 3, right?
Part 2 for 3 about there.
Yeah, you know what's going on. And you're just like, "Oh my gosh, that is a plot twist." And I'm not gonna go into detail about that, but like you realize, the amount of plot twists in this movie is what makes what makes this movie really good.
Plot twist was something that kind of kept under the radar, which will be explained more in the third part of the video series for Longlegs review. But going still back to like Nicolas Cage and Longlegs himself, do you think Longlegs was magic?
I think in a way, kind of magic, but maybe I don't know if he realized he was magic or not, which is what confused me, because like everything seemed like it was part of magic, but do we know if he intentionally Did it, or was he just going, like, going crazy and made himself want?
Like for me, like I kind of was confusing because the whole aspect of the like voodoo, which will be more explained in the next part of the series, but the way like how he was never found at any of the scenes, it was more like his influence was affecting these families, or at least something about these dolls, and like even that little brain thing, that little ball they had inside the dolls, like if those were meant to be like taken literal as a brain, a soul, because like once we saw like them, like they'll like after what happens between those dolls, like them getting destroyed, we'd see weird supernatural mist or something.
Yeah, that part was, that part kind of got like cool because I was just like, oh my gosh, what? Like I said, plot twist. This movie required so many plot twists to make you understand, like what's going on. The balls, the mist and all that. That was like crazy.
Do you think that was supernatural?
I think in a way, yeah, because like why would there be a ball of mist, but there's like no supernatural part of it? So I think there was like this movie was basically supernatural in a sense, and like I say this word a lot, but it was crazy, insane. It was like one of the main plot twists that you got to pay attention to, because if you don't pay attention to it, you'll kind of be a little lost.
I would say that, yeah. And what do you think of just like I think I may have asked it earlier, but like what do you think of Longlegs himself?
Like I said, his character is phenomenal, perfect acting, perfect performance, crazy, like the way he acts and all. The way his character, the characters in general, is just one of the most creepiest characters in that movie. You get the singing and the creepy vocals that he says, and the way he acts in the movie, it's just like one of the best roles he could play, in my opinion.
If you never seen a film with Nicolas Cage but you've heard of him, would you have guessed that was Nicolas Cage?
Honestly, no. Like the way the how everything, the makeup and all, it doesn't look like Nicolas Cage. It doesn't sound like Nicolas Cage. So I wouldn't really guess it's Nicolas Cage, but it's like the only way to know it's him is because they point it out. Other than that, you wouldn't know. Therefore, his performance, again, 10 out of 10 performance.
Is this kind of like a film you'd recommend to people? Honestly, like with the type of horror it is and the story it does go, like the dark story it is it something you'd actually recommend to a normal movie watcher or a horror fan?
I'd recommend it to mostly people who like horror, who like I want to say thrillers, basically. And like pretty much anybody who either enjoys all that kind of stuff, or in a way it's like kind of culty, but not necessarily kind of culty, because there's no cult exactly, except that Satanists is like what some Satanists can be cultish, I think. I don't
In a
know.
way, I believe, yeah, like at least they follow.
In a sense, yeah, like not all Satanists, but like in this movie kind of situation.
I felt like it was kind of being interesting because like he is a Satanist as they like claim, but like there's no cult, yeah, like Sam was saying in the film or anything like that. It's more like he's a solo guy, so it's like he's either following like the teachings of someone, or it's literally him who knows so much about the concept. And like his character is just phenomenal, and just the makeup was done well, and just the creepiness. Like I do wish though, like he was in it quite a little longer, because of him being more or less just background-ish for part 1 of the film, and then being more full centered on the spotlight for part 2. But I think he did great. What did you think of his interrogation room scene?
Oh boy, so like he put on quite a performance for that one. Like, I don't want to go into too much, but I think he put on more of the psychological part in that scene specifically, with how much effort he put into it, with how much how much, like, you can hear it in his voice, the tears and all of that. It's like, oh my gosh. But it's also, it is one of his most, I want to say, deadliest acts, if you've seen that part.
Such a disturbing scene at the end of his interrogation. He does something very, very disturbing for his character. Like, it's not like something very new from horror, but it's definitely something brutal and just immensely unsettling that we have to view as the viewer ourselves
It's
for a good long minute
It's
until
graphic.
until it just is all over.
yeah.
The graphicness of the scene is
If you're into like kind of like mini gore, yeah.
honestly, all in all, like Nicolas Cage for this second part of the film, like he did what he could for just being not like he's the main character, but for the amount of scenes they decided to put in front and centered on for this film, for like how I said this film is structured in 3 parts, and this second part is more for him as a character and just for his character. This film and just the scenes like that he was in, like, were definitely some of the most unforgettable of this year, I'd say, for horror. And it's going to definitely be a mixed bag for other viewers for sure, because they're either going to be wanting him in the film longer, or they just aren't satisfied with his character and what his character was doing, or his character just flat out just doesn't make sense in the overall story to some people. But I think honestly he did amazing. Nicolas Cage, he did quite amazing in his role, and for something more serious in role, also for a horror film, apart from his little indie, like more indie projects where he's either just being a full-on action horror star or just flat out just a survivalist. This one, he's neither. He's not even doing the killing, but he's doing so much psychological work upon these characters.
I think his character is great. I wish there was more to it though. I kind of wish there was more of like more him, if that makes sense. Where like he had a really great like experience in this, but I was kind of hoping there would be more like more psychological stuff, more of the notes.
Notes also, like from his side, the notes were so cryptic that not even the viewer knows what's going on. Like, they get solved, but apart from that, we don't really know what these cryptic notes are. We don't even know what his alphabet is that he's using. And that's kind of something that bugs me, is what alphabet is he using, or like these rune-ish symbols. I don't feel like it hinders the story overall. They're telling the story that they want to tell, but for his character and how his character makes his final scene for this film, how they make it such a unsettling, gruesome thing, I think he did amazing for this film. And just the way, like, in the end, like, he's everywhere.
He's like he's everywhere but nowhere at the same time, pretty much. It's like you want him to be a part of it more, but in a way off screen he technically is a part of like most of what you can see, just because of like I said, the killings.
His influence, I think, or just if there is magic to his character and everything about it, like, it affects the third part of this film full on, because the third part of the film goes full on into the birthday.
I think you noticed too in the second part there's like multiple birthdays too, but I thought it was crazy, but I also I loved it because it makes sense too in a way where like, yeah, they don't add some parts where you know, but some of the parts you do understand.
I think honestly the second part of the film was way better than the first. The first part of the film was a bit slow, like with the pacing on how we're following the character and her investigation. It's a little weird with her pacing. But once we do get to Nicolas Cage, I think our pacing gets very well done. We get to know his character a bit more in his little personal life, on what he does on a little day-to-day, a little basis, a little bit. And in general, his total like scale of creepiness. And it's not like a scary type of creepiness, but just the unsettlingness that we get from Nicolas Cage as Longlegs.
I feel like the second part also shows like he's, like you said, when he goes to the shop and all that, it kind of makes him seem human, you know?
For a sec, it really did make him seem human until he just started doing his like cuckoo, cuckoo
Things that make him crazy, yeah.
Anything you want to say just about Nicolas Cage in general, like what you think about his performances besides like Longlegs, and what you think about his upcoming future in film?
I genuinely hope he does more horror because, like I said, this performance was really spot on. Like in psychology and how crazy people can be. Like, it doesn't compare to his other movies because other movies, they weren't more psychological, but they were like pretty cool. So, all in all, I give his performance a 10 out of 10, and I hope to see more horror movies based on this movie alone.
Do you think this is a film that could influence other types of horror film in the future?
I really hope so because it I'm hoping they make a second movie for this, to be honest. Like,
Really? Okay.
the first one is, without giving any hints, the first one, it feels like it's enough, but it feels like there should be a part two to
Like
it
the
all.
way it ends, kind of.
Yeah, the ending just kind of.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Yeah. So that was our Longlegs review. I know it was a little bit longer than my part one, but I hope it was worth it for you guys, especially with my guest here. And I hope you like everything that was said. If not, we all have our own opinions on this film. And just another disclaimer, like, this series of review is not over yet. This is just a part two. What I created last time was a part one. I do have my last part of this film to come out with. For anything you guys aren't feeling is up to code with what we're saying right now, there is one more part left to talk about, which hopefully can sum up those questions any of you may have. I'm glad you were all here to join us on this review experience, and I hope you can tune in for the final video of this Longlegs review. This has been Fantalky with my guest, LostSamantha here.
Goodbye, everybody.
And I hope you all will join me into my next review, part 3, sometime later this week. And please always tune in for upcoming video reactions and more upcoming reviews that I will be doing, and any more possible future new people appearances on this channel. And do take care, everyone, and have a good night.